Now that you guys are definitely paying attention, thanks to the saga that is getting around Miramar High School from unnamed people due to YouTube's. Ladies and gents, we're talking thesis, okay? Now, let me be very clear with you guys. In my opinion, the thesis is the most important part of the paper, okay? Documents, understanding what's in the documents, document analysis will help you in creating a thesis. But the bottom line is, your thesis is the most important part of your paper. And I'm going to kind of get you where you need to go today with it. Okay. The way I can relate it to you to understand is this. If you ever tried to stand on a soccer ball or a basketball, you know it's hard to just stand up on them. One or two, they don't matter. It's hard because it's rolling everywhere. That is what it's like to write an essay when you have a vague or not so great thesis. Okay? It just is what it is. A strong thesis, a good detailed thesis, will basically write and structure your paper for you. It's that important, ladies and gents. So again, you sitting back, sit up, pay attention. Let's get to this. Thesis is super important. I'm gonna start to share with you a few of these reasons why. Okay. So first thing we're gonna do to even get into this is that I want to show you that on the website, and I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Let's share some sound while we're with. We will be watching a video shortly here. I'll be interrupting during the video to add my 2 cents in, which if Heimler ever watches my video, he's going to be like, well, why do you disagree with me, bro? I'd be like, well, I mean, you're my bald brother from another mother, but like, I got different opinions, bro. Plus, power of the beard over here, I guess. So what we're going to start with, just to get us down this path of a thesis. Let's bring you down memory lane. Remember about a couple weeks ago, we started doing this and we made a thesis, an argument, because that's what a thesis really is. It's an argument that answers your prompt. Okay. And we talked about the goals of Sesame Street. And we correctly identified, Cookie Monster and what was it, the Count? Oh, they're teaching in a fun and something way. So we were able to take those documents, the Sesame Street prompt, and kind of connect those things together to make sure that we were able to answer that the goals and outcomes of Sesame Street was to educate while being entertaining for the kids. That was part of our argument. Sesame Street is Sesame Street. It's awesome. All right. So now what we are going to do is take that to a historical level. You also did that with the assignment, understanding the documents, where you had to take the documents and kind of be like, well, this document answers the question in this way. Now it's a matter of putting it all together when you have multiple documents, making connections across the documents to make one argument. All right. This is probably an easy point to get overall, but it is still the most important. This is the video that we're going to watch right here. I'll pause it, say my 2 cents, do the thing, and please pay attention, as he is very good at this. I'm always going to wonder how this works out, like a YouTube video, but watching another YouTube video, but then going back out of it, I'm not sure how this is going to come out. I'm excited to see what happens.
Hi, and welcome back to Heimler's History. In this video, I'm going to show you how to write a perfect thesis statement for your DBQ and your LEQ, and this will work for all the AP histories, AP World, AP US, and AP Euro. Let's get to it. Okay, so what you're about to see is the thesis module from a much larger course that I just recorded about how to write all the essays in AP US History, AP World History, and AP European History. The whole course goes over every point of the DBQ, the LEQ, and the SAQ. And if you like what you're about to see, then the whole course is linked down below in the description. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, thesis. What is a thesis? Your thesis is just the argument in miniature for the essay that you are writing. Now, in order to earn this point, the rubric says that you have to respond to the prompt with a historically defensible thesis/claim that establishes a line of reasoning. Okay, let's break that down. Now, there are two very important phrases in that definition that I want to draw your attention to. The first is this, historically defensible claim, and the second is establishes a line of reasoning. Now, what
Ladies and gents, this just means that somebody has to be able to look at what you wrote and say, I agree with that, or I disagree with that. You can't just put in a collection of facts. It must be defensible. You have to defend it with what is in your essay.
that means is that your thesis has to argue for something. If you merely restate the prompt as it is, no point for you. You must argue something. So for example, in the 2017 national exam for AP US History, the prompt was this. Evaluate the extent of change in ideas about American independence from 1763 to 1783. And here's an example of just restating the prompt. From 1763 to 1783, ideas about American independence changed. Yeah, no doy, but I don't need to know anything about anything to write what I just read. All I did was take the prompt and rearrange the words. It is not historically defensible, and it certainly does not establish a line of reasoning. But let me give you two examples of theses that do establish a line of reasoning that are historically defensible, and these come from student samples that the College Board says will earn the point for a thesis. Number one, from 1763 to 1783, colonial ideas about American independence changed from just questioning British policies to calling for revolution. And the second one is this. From 1763 to 1783, colonial ideas about American independence did not change much because, throughout the period, many colonists continued to oppose the Patriot cause. Alright, now notice that the first one said that the extent of change was enormous, from mere questioning to full-blown revolution. But the second one said that nothing much changed. You've got two opposing sides here that are arguing different things, but they are both arguments, they are both historically defensible, and they can both draw from the evidence to make their argument. Okay, so
let you know, one of the reasons why I like the DBQ is because it is probably the easiest one to get points on. Because my man Jaden over here is not going to look at things the same way as Angineering. But Angineering might be reading these documents and picking up one thing. And then Jaden will pick up a different thing. But the DBQ gives you some flexibility and allows you to argue totally different things. As long as you're able to use the skills of a DBQ and use document analysis and understanding what the document says and organizing, you can be good at a DBQ. And I love that about a DBQ, that there is no one correct answer.
just make sure your thesis makes an argument instead of just restating the prompt. Also, your thesis needs to be specific. Now, it's at this point that you're going to have to expunge from your brain folds all that your English teacher taught you about writing theses. You see, in English class, they teach you to make your thesis vague and then fill in the details as you go along in the essay. But your thesis for your AP history essay needs to be stuffed fuller than a Scottish haggis. Don't know what a haggis is? Haggis is a savory pudding containing sheep's heart, liver, and lungs, minced with onion, oatmeal, spices, and salt, mixed with stock, traditionally encased in the animal's stomach. Anyway, in English class, your thesis is just going to be a deflated sheep's stomach, and that's it. But in AP history, you're going to take that thesis and you're going to stuff it so full of sheep nasties that it's about to explode. Now, in the examples of theses that I mentioned earlier, notice that they are not elegant, they are not spectacular, but they are specific. That first student wrote about exactly what changed. At first, the colonists were just questioning British policies, and by the end, they were calling for full-blown revolution. And the second thesis argued that there wasn't much change because there was a continuing resistance to the Patriot cause. Again, specific. Now, I myself would prefer more specificity than just that. For example, here's an elegant thesis on the same prompt. From 1763 to 1783, ideas of American independence changed from the colonies blindly accepting the tyranny of the British by religious rights of divine kings to believing in natural rights of individuals against British rule.
Ladies and gents, enter Exhibit B as to why I absolutely love the DBQ and why I think the thesis is the most important part. I'm going to go back real quick. I'm going to ask you guys a simple question. Well, I'm not going to ask you a question. I'm just going to kind of answer it myself, whatever. I can look at a thesis, and most of our AP teachers at this point can look at a thesis and kind of see exactly how many paragraphs are going to be in that essay. Ask me how. Oh, thank you for asking, Engineering. I'm so happy you asked that question. It's super simple. How many arguments are present within the thesis can generally tell me, at least as far as the way we teach them how to write them and stuff like that, and at least as far as making it easy and making an outline for you guys, I can look at this thesis and tell you that this is going to be a 4-paragraph essay. Okay? And it's because of the arguments. Your first paragraph in your DBQs, the way I want you to do them, the way I find it's easier for 9th grader to do them, your contextualization and your thesis, that's paragraph 1. In the second paragraph, it is your first argument and all the documents and analysis and things that agree with that. Then in the third paragraph, you'll have your second argument and all the documents and stuff in there. This is rinsed and repeated. So however many arguments you have, that's how many body paragraphs you have. And then as far as the DBQ is concerned in this group, as long as you make your conclusion basically something where you rephrase your thesis and add in your strongest points, that's your conclusion. So when I look at this example that is on the screen in front of you, I see 2 basic arguments that, we could read the whole thing, but you can read. You could see the screen. Ideas about colonial ideas about American independence change from just questioning British policies. There's one argument. That means all the documents that are kind of like that go back to Cookie Monster and the Count. We were able to take those documents and be like, hey, these documents go together. Grouping, all right? We grouped those documents together and they gave us that argument that they changed from just questioning British policies, all those documents. And then the second body paragraph will be my second argument, which is that all those documents that are calling for revolution. Okay, it changed from questioning British policies to calling for revolution. We could do this with the more elegant thesis now. The one that's crammed full of everything. It's the same basic concept. I think this is still a 4-paragraph essay. The colonies blindly accepting the tyranny of the British by religious rights of divine kings. That's one argument. Changing it to believing that natural rights of individuals against British rule. There's the second argument right there. So you've got your first paragraph, contextualization, thesis. Second paragraph is your first argument, then your second argument, and then your conclusion. And you can see those arguments are outlined right there. So this is just another reason why I love making sure you have a strong thesis, because if you do, it's going to set up the rest of your paper. Does that make sense to everybody? Everybody with me so far? Good. I'm seeing lots of yeses in the chat so far. A couple of answers from some students in the classroom. Throw some stuff at the students in the classroom. No, not yet. I'll wait. I'll wait till the opportune moment, and you know exactly when the opportune moment will be. I miss threatening students. Just kidding. I'm not threatening anybody. All right. Let's go ahead and press play one more time.
Natural rights of individuals against British rule. Ooh, that's just tasty. That argument is very specific. The tyranny of the British, the divine right of kings, natural rights. That haggis is about to burst. But here's the thing. All the theses that I've read you so far earned the point. You see, your thesis does not have to be elegant to get the point. It just has to be argumentative and specific. Now, for some of you, that's enough. But others of you might appreciate a formula, and I've got one for you. That intrepid AP history teacher, John Irish, has given us what I think is a marvelous formula for a complex thesis. Let's go look at it. The formula is this. Although X, A and B, therefore Y. Although X, A and B, therefore Y. Now, in this case, X is going to be the best argument against your argument, which is to say, the best counter-argument. A and B are going to be your evidence, and then Y is your argument. Now, let me give you another example of this in response to the prompt that we've been considering. Although most colonists identified in the beginning of the American Revolution as part of the British people and only sought greater representation, there's your X, that was the counter-argument. The continued contention over economic policies, there's your first piece of evidence, A, and political autonomy, B, forced many colonists to strive for a new identity as an independent America. That's your argument, Y, and that's what you're going to argue in the essay. Now let me tell you something, even though you can get the point for a simpler thesis like I mentioned before, it's better to argue for a complex thesis like this, because if you do, then you are setting yourself up later to get the complexity point.
And setting yourself up later for the complexity point isn't a bad thing. However, some of you guys looked at that although X, what you saw the formula and you were like, huh? I will be showing you a simpler way to make the thesis, okay? But if you like that particular kind of thing, it's really not a bad way to go about it, okay? Although X, that's your counterpoint, A and B, therefore Y. It's not that bad, okay? I'm going to end it here. This is where I actually disagree with Heimler. Sure, I can go back to the formula. Do you want the formula with the text? Or you just want the formula? Okay, I can actually still talk about it while we're here. This is where I disagree with Heimler. Later on in the video, he talks about where to put your thesis. And I'm telling you right now that, see, most amount of noise possible. I know there's nothing in there. Fail. So you always want to put in my class, and at least for you guys as ninth graders that are learning how to write these, you want to put your thesis in the opening paragraph, because it kind of signals to your reader what to expect, and it helps you with your structure. If you had one of those theses before, it was like, boom, boom. Okay, good. That means this is going to be the first paragraph. This is going to be the second. It makes it easier. Okay. I just disagree with him right there because of the fact that you guys are ninth graders. It might be a little easier for you just to be told exactly where to put it. Okay. We're going to stop this video because that's what he goes on to say. A few tips for you guys and theses. Do not be vague. Okay? Vagueness kills a thesis. There were many reasons why the Chinese responded in this way to Buddhism. You didn't say anything. This is the copy of what I like to call thesis killers. If your thesis statement only has words like this, okay, many ways, or things that I didn't put on here. I forgot to put varied or etc. I know you guys love these words because it makes you sound smart. But in reality, I'm telling you, the AP readers, they're smarter. And when you say, there were many reasons for this, like what? Engineering is picking up on what I'm saying here, but that would make it, your thesis would then be detailed, wouldn't it? If you just said, there were many reasons and didn't say the actual reasons, now we have a problem. You get what I'm saying there? So you can say the words like in your thesis and be like, or many reasons like X, Y, and Z. Okay, you guys feel me out there? You guys with me? Hmm. Well, my chat is falling asleep again. Looks like we're gonna, oh, okay. Thank you. All right. I want to show you a couple more examples of theses. Now, this is from an older presentation. I have not yet to change it, so listen to me. Don't read what's on the screen in some ways, okay? And I'll show you the differences here. So this is like an old school thing that I used to use for my kids. And it's before some of the changes that would happen. Here is the prompt. Now, it used to be, you know, they actually made you think of additional documents. Don't worry about that. The prompt is analyze the responses to the spread of Buddhism in China. This is an old school AP World favorite right here. Okay. That is the thesis. Now, this is an example of a poor thesis, a bad thesis. Okay. Already, can you guys see? It's got a thesis killer word in there. There were many responses. Look how smart I am. Yes. Many like what? Many how? You didn't say anything. This thesis does not work. It is too vague. You're not fooling anybody when you do this. Please don't do this. This next example used to be considered a minimally acceptable. It is no longer acceptable. Make sure I say this. This next thesis is not acceptable anymore. It used to be minimally acceptable. The Chinese reacted to Buddhism in both positive and negative ways. Exactly, engineering. What are those positive ways? What are those negative ways? She asked the question herself. This right here has two categories. Great, awesome job. But you didn't say anything again. You could have not read a single document and still be able to answer this. You guys get what I'm saying here? There's no detail from the document thrown into that sheep's stomach. I mean the thesis. Let's show you a good thesis now. This is an acceptable thesis. Chinese commoners responded positively towards Buddha's message, but the aristocrats and Confucian scholars rejected Buddhism. Look at that. It's the same basic structure, though. It's positive and negative. However, there are some details that you can only get from the knowledge of the document. That's a big deal. All right. I can even go one step below this one, because you can say, oh, the Chinese peasants reacted positively to Buddhism, whereas the Confucian scholars reacted in negative ways. That may get you the point. Now, do you really want to be in that situation where the AP reader's like, don't think so. So you want to add that detail, which is why this one is head and shoulders better than the previous one. Are we here, guys, still? Why am I using, I don't have 4 eyes. Are we here? All right. Here is an example of an excellent thesis where you can see it is dripping with detail. It is not just positive, negative. You have detail from the documents. Chinese peasants initially welcomed Buddhism because it gave them shelter during uncertain times. Aww. As imperial insecurity improved, authorities increasingly saw Buddhism as a threat to their political power and moved to discredit it. That is taking even more detail from the documents and shoving it into that thesis, so you know exactly what this paper is going to be about. And you probably know exactly how many paragraphs are going to be in this, don't you? How many? We have an answer of 5 in the classroom. Can we do one better? Can we add some more? What do you think, Jaden? How many paragraphs will this excellent thesis give us? Brianna says 5. You say 4. Engineering's got 5 still. Jordan says 4. Sebastian saying 4. Ladies and gents, I'm actually going to agree with 4. The reason being is because Chinese peasants initially welcomed Buddhism because it gave them shelter during uncertain times. Boom, paragraph 1. Because remember, we are analyzing the responses to Buddhism. That's one response. Another response was as imperial security improved, authorities increasingly saw Buddhism as a threat to their political power. I see 2 clear arguments here, meaning introduction, argument 1, argument 2, conclusion. Boom. That's 4. Conclusion. Oh, I would restate my thesis and then maybe respond with my strongest arguments. Like sum it up in another way. Yeah, so I would just rewrite it. Okay. Now that that's done, let's go and let's start talking about the actual assignment that we're going to practice with. And it looks like we're actually going to have time to do an example, which is awesome. Okay? So please go to my website because my website's awesome. You know where this is at. Please take a moment to go there. That's right. Looking at you, engineering. Go there already. I want to see those fingers moving. Let's go. You're going to come down to the document-based question. You'll see the DBQ files right here. DBQ skills practice. Because again, you're going to want to follow along because you have 2 assignments due this week. I told you that last week, though. One assignment, the thesis assignment, is due Wednesday. And then the contextualization assignment is due on Friday. That's right. The chicken's least favorite day. Friday. That's on YouTube. My friends will never let me live that one down if they ever see it. Okay, hopefully you're on my website. You're going to go into DBQ skills practice. You're going to come down and you're going to find DBQ practice day 5 thesis, putting it all together. All right, it should look like this. At the top, obviously, you got this, ladies and gents. Not that hard. Now, with this one, it's got all the instructions, but in essence, what you are trying to do, and I want you to read the directions when you can, you're going to get a prompt. It's your job to make a thesis. This is how the thesis should look. It should respond to the prompt with a historically defensible argument and a line of reasoning. All right. Now, you're not just going to pull this from the air. We know this by now. You're going to need documents, which is why we're going to complete a third of your homework right here together today. All right. There's only 3 thesis questions. For each of the thesis practice questions, you'll get a prompt. And then you'll have access to 5 documents apiece. And then a place to put your answer. And if you're following along, this should be pretty easy. So your entire process is basically going to be read the prompt. Okay, what is this asking me to do? Break it down, make sure you understand it, the time period, the skill that it's asking you. This one's evaluate to the extent. So now it's how much did it change? Greatly, somewhat, not really. A qualifier needs to put there, and what changed. You're then going to read document 1, understand what it's about, make a few notes on what document 1 actually says. Remember we went through this with understanding documents? You'll go to document 2, do the same thing. What is this document really about? How does this help me answer the prompt? What is this trying to show me? And you ask those questions of document 1, document 2, document 3, document 4, and document 5. That's when you will organize your own information. Now, you're going to organize yourself. Document 1 and 3 said this or this. Document 2, 4, and 5 said this. Maybe I could put these together. That's about you understanding the documents, and you will create your thesis right here. And that thesis, remember, needs to be an argument. It needs to actually answer the prompt. So what I want to do, since we've already done something like this, okay, I want you to try it on your own. All right. I want you to take the next, let's say 15 minutes. And I just want you to just look at these 5 documents, understand them, try to organize them or group them in a way, and then give me a thesis. All right. And those last 5-10 minutes, I'll review it. I'll review some responses. So go ahead and take 15 minutes. So it's a 2:10. Let's go to 2:25. And I will get back with you. If you have questions, put them in the chat or you may unmute. I have thought about some questions you guys might have. Yes, if you download it, mark up your paper all you want. Make notes all you want, because you need to remember what each document says and contains, so you can hopefully can combine them to make coherent arguments. How we feeling out there, ladies and gentlemen? Just checking in. We're about halfway in. So have we been able to look at the documents, kind of take a few notes of them? Have we started to see that some of the documents we can kind of pair up with each other? Perfect, perfect, perfect. If you have questions, just put them in the chat and I'll answer back with that. But when you start seeing these documents working together, let me show you where I'm at so far, guys. You can see I have notes on each of the documents, and I have the documents that I want to group up together. Be like, hey, these documents work with each other. This is just to show you, you don't need giant statements yet. You need to just kind of get an idea what the document has and what documents kind of can work together for your arguments. Keep it going. I'll get back with you guys in 6 minutes. As we get closer to the time here, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to type your thesis directly into the chat, you can. Obviously, you could type it on your Word document, so you could save it because this is part of the assignment. But if you want to type it directly in the chat, be my guest. All right, ladies and germs. Let's see some of this work that hopefully some of you guys have come up with. Remember, it was taking what is said in the documents and answering the prompt. Once again, that prompt needs to be broken down first. So you've got to look at this and you're saying, evaluate the extent to which the Industrial Revolution negatively impacted the lives of women and children in industrial societies during the 19th century. Now, you probably recognize this. It's been on other worksheets. It's supposed to kind of interact a little bit so you could be involved, and you've already seen some of these documents. So how are we looking here for these theses, ladies and gents? You guys can unmute and say them. You can put them in the chat. Either one of them is fine. It's a long thesis. And it starts off with a bang, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Ortiz. Although the Industrial Revolution provided many jobs to the unemployed, it was very harsh and rough for women and children. Brought more negative impacts to their lives, such as disease. The extent varies greatly because some people really need the jobs and are grateful for it, but others are not okay with harsh labors and impacts of this. So some of the wording is a little awkward, but as we get through time, Sebastian, you'll be able to clean it up. But I can tell you right now that you would get the thesis point, sir. All right, you make an argument and it's clear because some of these documents show the positive side. You addressed it and you also, use the English language to your advantage right there. Although, it was a great word here. All right, it did provide many jobs to the unemployed. Okay, but it also brought a lot of harsh impacts. Disease you mentioned, the harsh labor condition. Okay, so Sebastian, you would get the thesis point, sir. Nice job on the first one. Excelente. Just as a curiosity, while we're waiting for a few more people to type it in, which documents did you identify would work with your positives? Okay, because it seems like there's a whole positive documents that about the earnings and the money and the jobs. So which documents did you find that worked with your first argument, about being some positive jobs for the unemployed? One, 3, and 5, maybe. Okay, so we are right here with each other so far. So I guess that means that 2, 3, oh, wait. What are the documents you used for the part that had brought negative conditions to their lives? Negative working conditions or harsh treatment or disease? Two and 4? Okay. I get that. So you successfully used all 5 documents there. First of all, excellent job. Cool, man. Now I can say, and this is a little trick that I wasn't going to say till later, but because you're experiencing it, you had 1, 3, and 5 for the, I guess, although, there was some positive things with this. Okay. I had 1, 5, and 3 as well. Now, I also, when I was reading the documents, I was looking at documents 2, 3, and 4, and 5, okay, as possible negative ones. Now, somebody's thinking, but I thought you only had to use the document once, and that's true. But some documents can be used more than once. Like if a document kind of has good and bad in it, or in this case, or at least negative effects, and maybe that positive employment effect, you can use it more than once. As a whole, though, I ended up a little different than you, Sebastian, in how I chose to use the documents, because my thesis is sort of like yours in a way. I have two different ones. And I believe that 1 and 5 were more of the positive, yes, they provided employment, that kind of thing. But then I thought that 2, 3, and 4, I eliminated use of some of the other ones. I think 2, 3, and 4 are more you could use them for the conditions and the disease and the kind of harsh treatment argument. I chose that because in this third document, which seems to be where we differ, yes, it says the best of times for their family, but it also, they lost their jobs. They lost their jobs and were beholden only to this one place to work. Okay. Yes, they're much freer, but I also thought if they can't sell, it's good, we'll lose our job. We do not have the slightly greater security of farm life. So I use 3 in a negative way, but I guess you could also use it in your way as well. Because isn't that the beauty of a DBQ? Yeah, you could argue that. Are there any other people? I know I just went through a lot of stuff with Sebastian. Does anybody else have a thesis that they want to put in the chat before I kind of show you guys my 2 theses that I made? And I made 2 for you guys so you can kind of see both would earn the point. One's more complicated, one is less complicated. Or elegant, as Mr. Heimler put it. Okay, Sebastian, looks like you're the only lone wolf right now, but guess what? We ain't got time to wait. So here, fine. I have 2 example theses in there. One is obviously more elegant. Although the Industrial Revolution created new money earning opportunities for women and children that in some circumstances allowed them to help contribute to the family financially and find new opportunities, it also exposed young women and children to dangerous, challenging working conditions that differed on a large scale from anything they've experienced in history before. There's my elegant thesis, but in essence, it's still a 4-paragraph essay. The other thesis that would still earn the point, but is obviously not as detailed. The Industrial Revolution drastically impacted the lives of women and children. While it allowed them to bring income into the household, it also forced them to work in dangerous working conditions. And that is something that would still get the point. Now, after seeing Sebastian's thesis in the chat, my theses, both of my theses, does this make a little more sense, or does it help to have seen a couple of example theses for number 1? Yes, a little, yeah, yes, okay. So here's the goal. if you would like feedback on number 1, specifically number 1, email me and I will give you personalized feedback on them. Okay, if you didn't want to put it in the chat right now, which is fine. Okay. Again, if you want personalized feedback on this, just send me your thesis. I'll tell you if it's good or not. I'll tell you if you would earn the point and give you suggestions. As far as number 2 is concerned, and number 3, I want you to start working on them. All right, this is due on Wednesday by 11:59 p.m. So begin work on this. I will go over at least number 2 in class on Wednesday, but number 3 most likely I will not go over because that's just giving me the whole assignment at that point. We are done here. Send me emails for feedback.